Good afternoon. Thank you for coming. My name is Constable Phil Gavin. I'm one of the media relations personnel here with the Niagara Regional Police. As you're aware from the media advisory that went out yesterday, this news conference will provide details of a 14-month investigation into the trafficking of cocaine, methamphetamine, fentanyl throughout Niagara, Sudbury, Ottawa, and Hamilton regarding members of outlaw motorcycle gangs. This investigation was dubbed Project Skylark. There are a number of details that were provided today. A media kit is here in the room. An electronic version can be emailed out upon request. Following the individual speakers from the Ontario Provincial Police and the Niagara Regional Police Service, there will be a formal 10-minute question period involving everyone at the head table. At the conclusion of the question period, the officers at the head table will make themselves available for one-on-one questions about the room. During the question period, we won't have a microphone available. We would ask you to identify yourself and your agency prior to asking your question. Could we please ensure that everyone's phone is now turned on silent? I would now like to introduce our head table. From the OPP, Superintendent Brian McCullough, Acting Chief Brett Flynn from the Niagara Regional Police Service, Staff Sergeant Rick Carey from the Ottawa Police Service Drug Unit, Superintendent Ryan Diodati from the Hamilton Police Service Investigative Services Division. Superintendent McKillop.
Thank you, Constable Gavin. And good morning, everyone. On behalf of Commissioner Thomas Carrique and the men and women of the Ontario Provincial Police, thank you for coming for this important announcement. I'm joined today by Niagara Regional Police Service Deputy Chief Flynn, and I also want to welcome our colleagues from the Greater Sudbury Police Service, the Ottawa Police Service, and Hamilton Police Service. As you know, crime has no boundaries and respects no jurisdictions. It is incumbent upon all police services and security-focused agencies to work together to address criminality and help keep our respective communities safe. We know that the trafficking of illegal drugs has a serious impact on community safety and leads to an increase of violent acts and property crimes. Today, I'm going to discuss a network of individuals engaged in criminality and victimization spanning multiple regions and municipalities across this province. I'm going to tell you how Project Skylark, this investigation, has led to allegations of drug trafficking related to cocaine, methamphetamine, and fentanyl, a drug that is the preeminent contributor to the opioid crisis we're experiencing in our country. We have a clear mandate to target organized crime groups who are distributing these drugs, to hold people responsible for distributing these drugs, and to relentlessly endeavor to protect our citizens from these groups. You're going to hear the names of people associated to outlaw motorcycle gangs like the Hells Angels, a group our courts have ruled to be a criminal organization, and their associate club, the Red Devils. The association that these people have to these criminal groups creates significance and directly enhances their ability to commit crimes. We want to be clear that we, along with all of our law enforcement partners, are holding these criminal organizations accountable for trafficking and distributing the drugs that are ultimately responsible for hurting people in our communities. We all know that we're facing an opioid crisis. What you are seeing today is a prime example of what law enforcement in this province are doing to combat this crisis. It is a national priority for all law enforcement agencies to focus on the threat outlaw motorcycle gangs pose in Canada. Their very presence in our communities causes harm, victimization, and impacts our fundamental sense of safety and security. They participate in criminal activities such as fraud, drug trafficking, assaults, intimidation, and murder. And they do this for nothing more than profit. These individuals don't care about your safety or the safety of your family, friends, or neighbors. They care about making money at the expense of others. It is in the interest of preserving our community safety and security that we are here today. Project Skylark is an example of law enforcement agencies working together to disrupt these criminal organizations and their activities. CIROC, the Canadian Integrated Response to Organized Crime, and participating agencies, including the OPP, are working together to illustrate the threat posed by outlaw motorcycle gangs. Anti-gang messages were created during the campaign and are being shared on various social media platforms. In fact, the Niagara Regional Police Service has posted some of those campaigns on their social media feeds today. These campaigns help to educate the public about outlaw motorcycle gangs and raise awareness of the gang's negative impact on all of us. We understand that most motorcycle riders are simply law-abiding citizens. Law enforcement agencies are focused on the extensive criminal networks that exist within outlaw motorcycle gangs and their members that profit from illicit and illegal activities. Today, we have the details of how members of our Organized Crime Enforcement Bureau, Biker Enforcement Unit, and partner agencies have worked collectively to identify and arrest members of affiliates of outlaw motorcycle gangs who have been involved in activities that threaten our public peace. Today's announcement has taken months of work by police officers spanning our province. I would like to thank members of the Niagara Regional Police Service, Greater Sudbury Police Service, Ottawa Police Service, Hamilton Police Service, as well as our emergency response team members, tactics and rescue units, and similar specialty units from our partner agencies for their efforts to execute 18 search warrants last week on August 1st. The effort that day included 8 tactical teams and involved approximately 200 officers that spanned the province. Project Skylark was a 14-month investigation into a drug trafficking network spanning Niagara, Sudbury, and Ottawa areas. The investigation revealed involvement from members of the Hells Angels Nomads, the Red Devils, and the hooligan motorcycle clubs. There are many gangs, chapters, and members of these outlaw motorcycle gangs spread throughout Ontario. It's important to understand that those associated to these criminals and their gangs will be subject to further investigation. As a result of this investigation, we've charged 15 people with 195 offenses under the Controlled Drugs and Substances Act, the Cannabis Act, and other criminal code violations. Their names, ages, places of residence, and specific charges are contained in the Project Skylark Addendum of Charged Persons, which is included in your media kit. With that said, the following people were identified as being part of the Hells Angels Nomads, the Red Devils, which is a primary support club for the Hells Angels, and the Hooligans, a Sudbury-based Hells Angels support club. Joseph Pinsonetti of Sudbury and Josh Crusher-Canny of Ottawa are both full-patch members of the Hells Angels Nomads. Keith Earle of Ottawa and St. Catharines, Brendan Tupling of Ottawa, and Jovan Degree Blais of Ottawa are both full-patch members of the Red Devils. And David Nan of Sudbury is a prospect of the Hooligans Motorcycle Club. These individuals would not have formed criminal networks without their association to the Hells Angels, the Red Devils, or the Hooligans. The vetting process to become a member of these criminal enterprises is what allows them to form the relationships that their criminal activities are based off. Those relationships would not exist without their respective outlaw motorcycle gang. During the course of the investigation, the Project Skylark team combined to seize hundreds of 50 microgram fentanyl patches with a value of approximately $200 per patch, 12.5 kilograms of cocaine with one seizure alone of 11 kilograms valued at over $1 million, 2,000 meth tablets, 12.2 kilograms of cannabis and other cannabis products such as edibles and shatter. Also found during the warrants last week, $75,000 and seized in the warrants last week was $75,000 in Canadian currency, 11 firearms and 700 rounds of ammunition, $30,000 worth of high-end jewelry, multiple vehicles including 3 motorcycles, a Maserati and a Mercedes, and a residence was seized in Ottawa. Hells Angels and Red Devil patches and paraphernalia was also seized. Some of the charges laid as a result of this investigation include trafficking of cocaine, methamphetamine, and fentanyl, commission of an offense for an organized crime group, extortion, and human trafficking. As noted, Project Skylark investigators seized 11 firearms on August 1st. These are tools of the trade if you happen to be in the business of threatening people and extorting money. Of these firearms, 8 were illegally possessed, 3 were lawfully possessed, but were subsequently seized to ensure public safety. In addition, on July 24th, at a seizure made in Hamilton, 6 firearms were also seized, all of which were legally owned, but seized in the interest of public safety. As you'll see from the addendum of charged persons, human trafficking is amongst the many charges laid. Human trafficking is prolific, and organized crime groups utilize humans as another commodity because their activities are always profit-driven. They exploit people simply to make money. We have laid several charges under the Cannabis Act. This shows that even though it is now legal, the illegal sale and distribution of cannabis remains a lucrative operation for organized crime groups. I'm proud of the investigative diligence and cooperation displayed by all of our colleagues to bring these criminals to justice. I thank every officer in this project for your dedication, hard work, and perseverance. Because of you, Project Skylark, has significantly impacted the Hells Angels Nomads and the Red Devils Motorcycle Club drug trafficking network. And the results of this investigation will remove the Hells Angels Nomads from the greater Sudbury area. Thank you. I'll now hand it back to Constable Gavin.
Thank you, Superintendent. I'd now like to ask Acting Chief Flynn to the podium, please.
Thank you, Phil, and thank you, Superintendent, and welcome, everybody. Thank you for coming. Project Skylark speaks to and underscores the tremendous value of community and policing partnerships. In recognition of the fact that criminal activities like drug trafficking and like human trafficking occur across municipal, provincial, and international boundaries, it is vitally important to the success of law enforcement efforts that we, in the group that you see before you today, are committed to working collaboratively. To that end, in working with our law enforcement partners, we are continuing to ensure the safety of our respective communities. We'll continue to stand with our partners to ensure the criminal organizations get this message loud and clear, that trafficking in illegal substances, extortion, and human trafficking will not be tolerated within our communities, and that we will continue to pursue and charge those individuals within those organizations. Thanks to this joint initiative, substantial amounts of dangerous illicit drugs are off of our streets, and Niagara, along with Ottawa, Sudbury, and Hamilton are safer communities because of it. While this project has reached a successful conclusion, this is certainly not the end of our work, either in relation to this project or to others. We will continue to hold these criminal organizations accountable for trafficking and distributing these drugs that are responsible for killing people in our neighborhoods and in our communities. Thank you.
Thank you, Acting Chief. With that, that concludes the speakers portion. We'd now like to open it up for approximately 10 minutes for questions. Again, prior to asking your question, if you could identify yourself and your agency, and you'll have to probably use your loud voice so you can be heard. Yes, sir, go ahead.
Peter Evers, the Toronto Star. Can you please speak a bit about the human trafficking aspect and also where the fentanyl was actually made?
So in regards to the human trafficking piece, given that there are survivors related to this occurrence and it is before the courts, I won't elaborate too much on the investigation. What I will say is that human trafficking is prolific. The recruitment, transportation, harboring of people for the purposes of exploitation, and typically in the sex industry and for forced labor is a significant problem facing our nation right now. And I actually think in this case, what it highlights is organized crime's involvement in basically every commodity, and they take advantage of every opportunity to victimize individuals and take advantage of a vulnerable population, and typically females in this particular case. And what I will say is that everyone should be absolutely furious that this is occurring in Canada in 2019. They should be furious that this is happening in our province. They should be furious that it's happening right under most people's noses, and they don't even know that that's occurring. I know that we have provincial campaigns, and virtually every force in this province is focused on tackling this plague that's impacting us, that is human trafficking. And what I would do is encourage individuals, survivors who've gotten out, those that are implicated, to know they can reach out to a local police service. People who may be suspicious that this is occurring, to please reach out to your local police service of jurisdiction, or to remain anonymous, call Crime Stoppers to make sure that they report this information. That one call could actually save someone's life. In this case, what I will say is that it was pharmaceutical and would have been diverted.
So taken out of actual pharmacies?
I can't say where it was diverted from, but it was pharmaceutical grade.
From a legal source
It originated as legal.
Grant?
From the St. Catharines Standard. Just to follow up to Peter's question, can you give us some sense of the scope of the human trafficking and how many, even ballpark, how many victims are we talking about?
The only thing I will say, because it's ongoing and it's before the courts right now, and again, there are survivors, and is that this investigation is ongoing. The extent of their involvement in human trafficking, the individuals that were charged, is subject to further investigation and disclosure before the courts. That's why my message today is to encourage survivors, individuals. We've named people, and you will too, in terms of who is charged in this event, who would have been associated, have been associated, or aware of other potential survivors, to reach out to either us or the local police force or jurisdiction to determine the exact extent of which. You can imagine that it's hard to pinpoint exactly how many people would have been involved historically. We have current information, and we did have enough reasonable grounds to lay the charges at this time, but we are still looking into the matter.
And then a follow-up there, in general terms, we know that, particularly here in Niagara, when the Hells Angels were very active, cocaine trafficking was their primary stock in trade. Can you give me some sense as to how much outlaw biker gangs and the gangs that you were investigating in particular are involved in human trafficking? Is this a long-standing source of criminal revenue for them? Is this something that's more evolved more currently?
Well, I can't say that obviously they don't readily share that information with us, and we go out of our way to investigate it as the events occur. What I think the most important thing to take away from this is that they will take every opportunity to victimize individuals, and they deal in multiple commodities. So whether it's cannabis or fentanyl or methamphetamine or cocaine or firearms or human trafficking, what you're seeing in this case is an example of the extent to which organized crime will go to achieve profit. And human trafficking is involved in so many investigations. Gone are the days where people focus on a singular commodity in terms of what they deal or what they peddle. It's virtually everything, and you can see in the pictures we've got, to my left, and in the discourse I just gave in terms of the totality of the charges, they're involved in everything, but it's all for profit, and it's all to take advantage of people.
Just the gentleman, just one row back, second row, yes.
C'est quoi l'ampleur de cette saisie-là, l'ampleur de ces arrestations-là? Est-ce qu'on parle d'un gros morceau, une petite partie de l'iceberg ou une grande partie de ce réseau-là? Parce qu'on regarde les quantités, les gens presque penser que c'est pas une énorme quantité saisie, que c'est pas un nombre astronomique d'arrestations. On parle de quoi en termes de l'ampleur de ce réseau-là?
Merci pour la question. Je vais faire mon possible pour répondre parce que j'ai préparé mes notes en français, mais je peux vous dire que en termes de crime organisé dans la province d'Ontario, c'est quelque chose que significant. On parle d'un réseau d'individus, en effet, une organisation de crime qui ont un impact dans la province au complet. C'est ça qui est important. Et les gens qu'on a visés dans ce projet, c'est les chefs, ceux qui sont en charge. Donc, vous avez raison, si on regarde la totalité de quantité de drogue qu'on a saisie ou d'armes à feu, on ne dirait pas que c'est beaucoup, mais ça, c'est juste en effet les résultats de ce projet. Et si on est capable, en vertu d'une enquête approfondie, d'être capable de saisir ces drogues et ces armes à feu et de securer les gens qui étaient sujets du trafic des humains dans un span de 14 mois. Vous pouvez imaginer ce que ces gens ont fait pendant leur carrière comme criminels. C'est un de leurs commodités qu'ils utilisent pour faire de la profit. En effet, c'est pas juste de la drogue, c'est pas juste des armes à feu, c'est des humains aussi. Et c'est des humains où ils ont eu l'implication des humains où ils ont trafiqué était partout dans la province. Et ce n'était pas juste un crime isolé, c'était quelque chose que le réseau a utilisé pour la profit.
Could you just repeat that first question in English? How important are these arrests? What's the grand significance of this arrest and these?
So what the investigation uncovered is essentially a network of criminals that span the entire province who work collaboratively and leverage their association to their organized crime group, in this case, an outlaw motorcycle gang. These are people that were essentially important figures within the Hells Angels and the Red Devils, span across the province. So although in this case, as the question was asked, you're not going to see the 1,000 kilograms of cocaine or whatnot. This is what we were able to uncover in a short period of time. And you can only imagine, they're only a certain group of individuals, but they control and influence so many others. You can only imagine over the history of their criminality what they've been able to do and the pain they've been able to impart on our communities. I think it's important to note too that outlaw motorcycle gangs are associated to other forms of organized crime across this country, and it's a question of that. It's the network they utilize to be able to peddle their goods that's so important, and having disabled and disrupted this particular network will have a significant impact on the drug trade in Ontario.
Yep.
How significant is the internet for what they're doing? Like, we see the bikers riding around, but how much of this stuff is being done, online?
In this case, our investigation was more traditional, not necessarily online based, but I don't think you have to look very far in society today to know that the cyber-enabled criminal or cyber-enabled criminality is a huge issue and linked to virtually every aspect of organized crime. It's something that we're, as law enforcement, acutely aware of and very much focused on, and the integration of the cyber aspect to all our investigations is an important part of what we do.
And where did the cocaine come from? Like, I take it this was mostly a distribution group. Was this Mexican cocaine, or do you know where it originated?
That part of the investigation is still ongoing.
Pouvez-vous nous expliquer un peu justement, ça va être quoi l'impact de ce projet-là sur l'approvisionnement en drogue à Ottawa notamment, mais aussi dans le reste de l'Ontario? Puis aussi, je suis intéressé de savoir si vous avez des liens d'affaires que vous avez pu vous constater avec les Hells Angels du Québec ou d'autres groupes de crime organisé.
Ce qu'on peut dire, c'est que les motards impliqués en crime organisé sont impliqués avec toute forme de crime organisé dans le pays. Et ils prennent davantage ces relations pour s'organiser et commettre des crimes. Les individus ou le groupe à qui on parle aujourd'hui, les avoir arrêtés, ça va avoir un impact significant dans la province au complet.
Et puis, est-ce qu'il y a des liens avec les Hells Angels au Québec ou d'autres groupes de crime organisé?
Ce que je peux vous dire que dans ce cas, on a un network d'individus qu'on a arrêtés et on parle d'eux aujourd'hui, mais c'est vraiment quelque chose. Je peux vous dire que les crimes des motards sont impliqués et sont liés aux crimes organisés de tout type dans le pays, et ils prennent davantage ces relations pour s'organiser et commettre des crimes.
Sorry, can you identify which of the charged persons are full patch members of which outlaw gangs?
Certainly. I'll just repeat what I... So in this particular case, Joseph Pinsonetti of Sudbury and Josh Koshrakani of Ottawa are both full-patch members of the Hells Angels Nomads. Keith Earl of Ottawa and St. Catharines, Brandon Tupling of Ottawa, and Jovan Degree-Blais of Ottawa are all full-patch Red Devils Motorcycle Club members. David Nan of Sudbury is a prospect of the Hooligans Motorcycle Club.
How would you describe their two women charged? Are they members of the group, or are they associates?
I'd have to discuss that afterwards in terms of the specific individuals. I don't have the list in front of me.
So if what we'll do at this point, we will conclude this question period, and the head table will exit the room just briefly and and then come back out and make themselves available for about 10 minutes for one-on-ones. The press kits are being dispersed. There's hard copies here in the room for those who wish one. It is note that the electronic versions that include the photos are available in an OPP media release that should be live now. This concludes the press conference. Thank you for coming.